The first thing that you'll notice when you open the box is just how small this guy really is. It's only 13.5 inches long. That's about a third of the size of its main competitors. And although it is small, inside they're able to squeeze in 4 2.25 inch mid-range drivers and 2 half-inch tweeters as well. With all that packed in, I was actually kind of skeptical about how loud it could really get. For its size, I was expecting it to feel cheap, but when I picked up this speaker for the first time, I was pleasantly surprised by the build quality. It has a bit of heft to it. It feels beefy and tightly packed. There really is a lot jammed into this small design. Looking at the wireless subwoofer now, it has a 6.5 inch downfiring sub. There are no physical connections or independent adjustment knobs or bass levels or audio gain, anything like that, so it's pretty much plug and play. But going back to the soundbar, it has no wall mounts, so that is something to note if you were looking for that in your setup. You do have your usual buttons up top as noted on your screen right now, and a special one to note is the night effect button. It's something I haven't seen on any other soundbar, and what it does is it turns down the bass and enhances the voices for use when others are sleeping. In testing, this feature did work really well. The bass was much less pronounced while still providing an enjoyable listening experience. They also included a remote control that gives you a few more options, such as individual bass and voice level adjustments, as well as providing sound profiles that's tailored to what you're watching, whether that's movies, music, or even sports. I'll talk more about that after the sound tests. But flipping to the back of the soundbar, you'll have your standard ports. That's power, optical in, aux, and Ethernet. And you may notice there's only one HDMI connection. Not many know about this, even though it's been around for quite a while, but this soundbar uses Aulpha Technology, so you can plug all your devices into your TV and it will be a hub. And then you plug one HDMI cable from your TV into the soundbar and all your devices will play through this setup. The Magnify Mini also has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities, plus being able to connect to Spotify and Chromecast accounts. All these features are just improved by the built-in 5.1 Dolby Digital surround sound system. And that leads us to the final part of this review. Here's the sound test. I'll play a few different samples and then I'll give you my final verdict afterwards.
The services are no longer required.
Muscles in and throws it down. Celebration tonight here in Oakland. And James rushing up the floor. Three-pointer is good with 14.2 remaining. And now Golden State.
For this system in particular, we had 3 tests. The first was movies, then music, and then finally one for sports. With the volume turned up to 70%, I reached a very enjoyable listening experience. My first time trying the setup, I was blown away by the quality coming from such a small speaker. The bass itself was actually louder than the $1,000 Yamaha speaker we recently tested in this studio. The bass coming off the sub has lots of body and it was boomy and just well adjusted. In our movie and music test, the low frequencies gave off a bass boosted sound signature, providing a punchy experience in action sequences and still a deep resonance during explosions. The deep bass gave you a sense of movement when a large object would move across the screen, and that just helps complete the immersion. Moving into mid-range frequencies, actors' voices were pronounced and clear, with a solid amount of detail in the audio signature, especially when you consider the price range. Despite offering a good amount of bass, vocals were never mixed with the bass or the highs in the background. With the highs, the Magnify Mini crafted all the crisp clashes that you could need. The twin tweeters helped complete the soundstage and finished off the signature as a whole. There was no tinny or crackling noises present during any of the testings that we did. Regarding the 5.1 virtual surround sound, the setup gave off a level of separation that was unexpected from a system this small. It's not the same as a full 7.1 physical surround sound you might have in your home, but it's enough to give the listener an idea of where someone is on screen while talking, but still knowing that on the other side of the screen, a building's falling. And while the system is lacking on the full experience of sound coming from behind, you're still easily able to distinguish sounds if they're still in your field of view. As discussed earlier, the remote offers options to adjust sound profiles. In the movie profile, I found the best results were at 80% volume with the bass turned up to about 75%. This not only gave me the boomy bass that surprised all of us in the studio, it also showed me what the soundstage was capable of with this setup. For the music profile, my settings were pretty much the same. The bass coming from the subwoofer was super unexpected, especially when you consider the size, and the soundbar gave off clear audio in all directions. The highs were sharp and the mids had a great separation, even when paired with a vocal track. All the genres of music that I threw at this thing during testing sounded superb. From electronic to metal, everything was great. The sports profile had a similar effect. The voice of the announcers was clearly separated from the game audio. Even when buzzers were ringing in the background, voices were still easily heard. Overall, this setup gives you such a great bang for your buck. You not only get a small but powerful soundbar, you also get a wireless subwoofer that you can put in the most precarious places you can find. This is perfect for dorm rooms, small bedrooms, tight spaces, but the audio performance will handle well in medium or large size rooms as well. Well guys, that's all I have for the Polk Magnify Mini.